Hi everybody, thanks for joining me for Vinyasa Yoga today. My name is Erica and I'm with UMBC Recreation. If you are new to this class or yoga, you don't have to be familiar with yoga poses or the names of yoga poses. Vinyasa is or can be a challenging style, however, so I always want to encourage students to listen to your body. If something doesn't quite feel right, please feel free to skip a pose. I will offer modifications throughout the class to make things a little easier, sometimes make things a little more challenging. So just listen to your body. If you try something out and it doesn't feel right, know that it's always okay to take a step back. We'll take several scheduled rests throughout the class together. You're more than welcome to take those at any time during the class. If you are brand new to yoga, I do like to point out at the end of our practice, after our cool down, we end in a final rest period. We lay flat on our backs for about 3 minutes with our eyes closed in stillness. Part of the reason for that is to let our bodies absorb the benefits of the class. We're putting a lot of motions on our bodies, we're putting a lot of work in our body. The body needs to reset and have a time to recoup. But also, more importantly, it's a time for self-reflection, to think and reflect upon your life, upon your day, what's going on. Yoga is not just about the movements we put in our body, it's also about getting to know ourselves better. So I encourage students to always take part in that practice as well. Before we get started, always stay safe and make sure to check with the doctor before you start any new exercise plan. Today we're going to start laying down flat on our back. So start in a seated position, sitting in the center of your mat with your feet facing forward. Then bring your elbows down to the mat. Slowly make your way flat to your back. Knees stay bent, feet flat on the floor. Placing your arms wide out at your sides at shoulder height, palms face up towards the sky. Take a few breaths here. Take at least 2 or 3 nice deep breaths. Our arms out at our sides. We're gently helping to open the front of our chest, increase our lung capacity. Draw the knees in towards the chest, keeping feet side by side. Pressing low back flat to the mat. Decompressing the low back. Slowly turn your head to the right, looking out over right shoulder. And slowly turning your head up towards the ceiling before looking out over left shoulder. Loosening up the muscles in the neck and the shoulders. Turn your head back to center, looking up towards the ceiling. Extend your left leg onto the mat. And hold on to the bent knee into Apanasana. Fingers interlace, holding right below the bent knee. Both feet are flexed. Right thigh draws close to the body. If you feel any discomfort on your knee, however, you're more than welcome to hold on to the back of your thigh instead. Gently start to rock the bent leg, side to side. Opening up the hip. Then start to make some hip circles, as if we're drawing imaginary circles in the air with our knees. We have a bit of a focus on hips today. First, stretch for the hips here. In reverse direction, so we'll make circles both ways. Find stillness with right knee drawn in towards the chest. Engage the leg on the mat, flexing the foot, pressing heel down onto the mat till the leg is engaged. Feel the quad and the thigh turn on. Start to flex the right foot as well. Press out through the heel and start to straighten the leg up towards the ceiling. So knee can stay bent. Maybe you're working here, hamstring is tight, that's okay. Leg does not need to straighten all the way to ceiling. Work with your body. The important thing is you're pressing out through both heels, both legs are engaged, low back is flat to mat. Then bend the right knee again, drawing it in towards the body, and straighten the leg onto the mat. Left knee draws in towards the chest, Appanasana, holding below the knee, drawing thigh close to body. Feet are flexed. Gently rock the leg side to side. Let's start to engage and open the hip. And start to make circles, starting with whichever circle or direction that you like. And then reverse direction. Maybe you find one way goes a little more smoothly than the other. Find some stillness with thigh drawn in towards the chest. Flex both feet, leg on the mat, completely engaged. Place your hands on the back side of left thigh if they're not there already. And start to press out through the heels, straightening the leg towards the ceiling. Both legs engaged. Draw left knee back in towards the chest and straighten the leg onto the mat. Draw both knees in towards the chest, feet side by side, holding below the knees or on the back side and the thighs. Decompressing low back. Gently tuck your chin in towards your chest, lengthen the back side of the neck. Maybe feel a little bit of that stretch go down the spine. Plant the feet on the mat and place your arms along the sides of your body. Extend your right leg up towards the ceiling, then cross the ankle into figure 4, crossing over opposite knee. If you look down at your legs, it should look like an upside down 4. Allow the hip to fall open. We're just going to hang out here. If you're familiar with alternatives, you can take whichever position of figure 4 you're familiar with. If you like a little more sensation, you can gently use your hand on right thigh to help gently open the hip a bit more. Come out of figure 4, we'll straighten right leg back up towards the ceiling and return foot to mat. Left leg extends to the ceiling, cross the ankle, figure 4, open the hip, we'll hang out here. Maybe using the hand, giving yourself an assist to just deepen the stretch a bit more. Straighten left leg back to ceiling, return foot to mat. Roll over to one side of your body and gently press yourself up to a seated position, facing the front of your mat. If you're not comfortable in a cross-leg position, you can take a loose diamond shape with the legs instead, bringing the bottoms of the feet together. Whichever position you're in, ground your sits bones to the flat, find length through the spine, out through the crown of your head. And place your fingertips at your sides. Arms out at the sides, fingertips to floor. Round the spine, nice and slow. Draw your chin in towards your chest. Draw belly into body. Then lift and arch the spine, tilting head up towards the ceiling. Again, we round the spine, chin to chest. Lift and arch, chin lifts. Use your exhale to round the spine, drop chin to chest. Inhale to lift and arch, then find a neutral seated position. Twist your chest to the left side of the mat into spinal twist. Left hand directly behind you, right hand directly in front. Find length out through the top of the head. Engage your core and look towards the back of the mat. Slowly untwist the spine, face forward, hands at your sides. Then spinal twists, chest to the right, right hand directly behind, gazing to back of mat. Slowly unwind, look forward. Then rock into a tabletop position onto your hands and your knees, wrists stacked under shoulders, knees stacked under the hips. Round the spine one time for me, hold it here, draw the belly in. Maybe rock gently forwards and backwards. And return to a tabletop back flat. Lift up to the tips of your fingers. Extend your right leg behind you, point through the toes, heel in line with hip. A little in core engagement here. Draw the right knee in towards your chest, round the spine, draw the belly in, lift the knee away from the mat and step, or place your foot into lunge. Draw the breath in through the nose, lift your right arm up to the ceiling. We'll exhale here, hold, pose here. Lifting right ribs up to the ceiling, gaze is up to the ceiling. Forward foot is flat to mat. The thigh stays close to the belly. On your next exhale, lower the raised hand down to the floor. On the next inhale, lift both arms out in front, up overhead. Deep breath in, arms up. Exhale out through the mouth, nice and slow. Fingertips return to floor. Extend your right leg behind you, point through the toes, and return to a tabletop position. Extend the left leg, heel in line with hip. Draw left knee in towards the chest, around the spine. Draw belly in, step or place the foot into lunge, ankle below the knee. Deep breath in through the nose, left arm up to ceiling, into twist. Exhale, hold here. As you exhale, lower the hand down to the mat. Next inhale brings both arms overhead. As you exhale, fingertips return to floor. Extend the forward leg long behind you, point through the toes, and meet me back in tabletop, hands flat to mat. Bring your left elbow up towards the sky, open the chest, then thread the needle, passing the raised arm to the right side of the mat, dropping down to our shoulder. Relaxing the right arm for a moment. Taking a few breaths here. Finding a twist with the spine, but also opening the shoulder. Then plant the right hand firmly on the mat again to press yourself back to tabletop. Right elbow lifts to the ceiling as you breathe in. Exhale to thread the needle, passing it through the left. Shoulder comes down to the mat. Cheek comes down to the mat. Slowly press yourself back to tabletop. Lower the elbows to the mat into puppy pose, elbows stacked under shoulders, palms face down, head hangs heavy to gaze between the knees. Take a few breaths here. Puppy pose is a rest pose, but we're also lengthening our spines, getting a little fresh blood to our heads. Then settle into child's pose, bringing the big toes to touch, sending hips all the way down to heels, resting forehead to mat. Separating the knees enough to make some space for our bellies. If you're uncomfortable in this position in the knees or the hips, you can always take puppy pose instead. Take a full, deep breath. A full, deep breath. And another full, deep breath. Slowly meet me back in a tabletop position on your hands and your knees. Spread your fingers nice and wide, tuck your toes onto the mat. Lift the knees just a few inches off the mat. Hold here to engage the core, engage the shoulders, then keep the knees bent as you lift the hips to down dog, lifting them up towards the ceiling, pressing belly back towards the thighs. Trying to distribute the weight evenly between the feet and the hands, pressing firmly into the pointer finger and the thumb. Gaze is between the feet. Knees stay bent for now. Focus on the breath and the length in the spine. Look forward, start to shift more of your weight forward, then step or place your right foot into lunge. You can grab a hold of the foot and put it in place if you need, ankle below the knee. Lifting up to tips of your fingers, looking forward. Step up to half lift, feet or hips width distance apart, hands to shins, back is parallel to floor, gaze is at the floor. Tiny micro bend in the legs, don't lock out the knees. Then lower down to forward fold, dropping ribs down to the thighs, letting arms and head reach towards the floor. Ribs are reaching towards the thighs, that the legs are really tight, put a gentle bend in the knees. If the ribs are very far from the thighs, put a gentle bend in the knees. It's important to find that little bit of compression to engage the low core and protect our low back. Now tuck your chin in towards your chest and slowly start to round your spine up to a standing position. One vertebrae at a time. Let your chin come up from the chest last. Once you make it up to standing, stand nice and tall at the top of your mat, root down through your feet, palms face forward. Shoulders are relaxed down the back. Give me some shoulder rolls, shoulders roll up to the ears, down the back. Go both directions, bring them up and down and around the front. And find stillness, standing nice and tall at the top of your mat. Slowly lift both arms overhead, gaze up to ceiling, palms face one another. Then bring the hands together, lower them down through heart center. Hinge forward from the hips, back to forward fold. Ribs reach for the thighs, arms and head reach for the floor. Knees are bent. Bring those ribs close to the thighs. Rise to half lift, flatten your back, hands to shins. Step your right foot back into a lunge position, fingertips to the floor, left knee stacked right over the ankle. Drop the right knee down to the mat and uncurl the toes. Deep breath in through the nose, slowly lift both arms overhead. Engage your core for stability. As you exhale, fingertips come down to the floor. Step back into a tabletop position on your hands and your knees. Plant your hands flat to the mat. Lean forward for chaturanga until shoulders are a few inches past the wrists. Bend the elbows, keeping them close to the body. Lower your chest down to the mat. Then inch your hips down to the mat. Nice shoulder, arm, core engagement. Press your hips into the floor, draw your belly in towards your spine. Slowly lift the chest off the mat into baby cobra. Shoulders wrap behind the heart. Then press to child's pose, hips to heels, and forehead to mat. Slowly rise back to tabletop. Spread the fingers nice and wide, tuck your toes onto the mat. Start by lifting the knees a few inches off the floor, engage your core, find down dog, hips up to ceiling, belly back towards the thighs. I was gonna say child's pose. You're more than welcome to skip down dog and take a child's pose instead if you prefer. Whichever pose you're in, you're breathing here. If you'd like to create a little more sensation in the legs, try straightening just one leg at a time and pressing that heel to the floor. Look forward, shift the weight forward, step or place left foot into lunge, lifting up to tips of fingers. Step up to half lift, flatten the back. Lower to forward fold, ribs reach for the thighs, head reaches for the floor. Tuck your chin in towards your chest and slowly round your spine up to standing. Once you make it up to standing, slowly lift both arms overhead as you breathe in through the nose, arms up. Exhale, hands together down through heart center. Hinge forward from the hips into forward fold, ribs to thighs. Rise, half lift, flatten back. Exhale as you step your left foot back into lunge, lower the knee down to the mat and uncurl the toes. Next, inhale, lifts both arms overhead, engage the core, thighs draw energetically towards one another. Exhale, fingertips return to the mat. Step back into a tabletop position, plant the hands flat. Lean forward into chaturanga, shoulders past the wrists. Bend the elbows, keep them close to the body. Chest comes down first and then the hips. You're more than welcome to skip this little sequence if you like, down to the floor. Get there any way it's comfortable for you. Inhale, baby cobra, chest lifts off the mat, engage your core. Exhale, child's pose, hips to heels. Slowly rise back to a tabletop position. Plant the fingers nice and wide and lift the hips to down dog, up to the ceiling, belly back towards the thighs. Take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Look forward, step the right foot into lunge. Step up to half lift, hands to shins. Lower to forward fold, belly to thighs. Slowly round the spine, up to standing. Deep inhale brings both arms back overhead. Slow exhale, hands come down through heart center and lower to forward fold, belly to thighs. Rise, half lift, flatten the back. Step your right foot back to a lunge position and pause here, left knee over the ankle. Strengthening the legs a bit. If the extended leg, you're feeling a little much too sensation, gentle bend in the knee, you can find some ease. If you'd like to challenge your balance and strengthen your legs a bit, you're going to keep the knee lifted. Otherwise, drop right knee to the mat now. Everyone inhale, slowly lifting both arms overhead and holding here. Open the front of the chest, drop shoulders away from the ears. A few deep breaths. Core is engaged as low ribs reach for the hips and hips reach for the low ribs, as if you're trying to put on pants that are too tight. On your next exhale, fingertips return to the mat. If your knee's not lifted, go ahead and lift it now. Then walk the hands to face the right side of your mat, turning your feet forward. If the hamstrings are tight, you can gently bend the knees. So you might be in a bit of a squat position like this. Otherwise, legs are straight, Hips are over the heels. Everyone's long. Spines are long. Firmly root your feet down to the floor. Micro bend in the knees if there's not there already. Engage the thighs. Bring your hands to your hips. Draw belly in towards the spine and slowly lift the chest upright. Let your head come up last to keep us from getting lightheaded. Firmly plant your feet on the floor. So walk the feet in a little closer if you need. Press firmly into inner and outer ball, inner and outer heel. Hands are on the hips. Turn the toes away from one another and slowly bend the knees into goddess pose, stacking them over the ankles, sending hips down towards the floor. Holding here. Engaging our core, lengthening our low back, opening the hips, strengthening the legs. Slowly straighten the legs and turn the toes forward. Hinge from the hips, bringing fingertips down to the floor. Bend those knees if you need to, and walk back into lunge. Left foot turns forward. Hands frame the forward foot. Right heel lifts off the mat. Step back into plank. Drop the knees to tabletop. Let's all skip chaturanga. Lower all the way down to the mat. Inhale, lift the chest, baby cobra. Exhale, child's pose, hips to heels. Take a short rest period here. Bring all your focus to your breath. Be present in your movement, present in your body. And as you deepen the breath, fill up the sides of the body. On your next deep breath, fill up the back side of the body. And alternate. On your next inhale, slowly meet back in a tabletop position. Round the spine, cat pose, chin to chest. Lift and arch the spine, cow pose, gazing up to ceiling. Return to tabletop. Spread the fingers nice and wide. On your next exhale, lift the hips to downward facing dog. Of course, unless you're tired, you're welcome to skip. Taking a few breaths here. Spine stays nice and long. Maybe we're working to straighten the legs, pressing heels to the floor. If you're working to straighten both legs, length of the spine comes first. Focus on drawing in the low belly, finding length in the spine like a ski slope. Everyone look forward, step the left foot into lunge. Breathe in as you step up to half lift, flatten your back. Exhale, forward fold, belly to thighs. Draw the breath in as you slowly round the spine up to standing, and exhale at the top. Next deep breath in, lifting the arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold, hands down through heart center, belly to thighs. Inhale, half lift, back is flat. Exhale as you step your left foot back into a lunge position and hold here. Engage the legs. Nice, strong, active thighs. If you'd like a little ease, go ahead and lower the knee to the mat now. Everyone lift the arms overhead as you draw the breath in. Hold here, engage your core. Hips stay square to the front of the mat. Open from the front of the chest. On the next exhale, fingertips return to the mat. Lift the knee now if it's not already lifted. Then walk to face the left side of your mat, turning the feet to turn forward as well. Ground your feet to the floor. Tiny micro bend in the knees. Engage your legs. Hands come to hips. Engage your core. Slowly rise up. Let the chin come up last. Nice and slow. Then turn the toes away from one another. And again, ground your feet. Bend the knees into goddess pose, stacking them over the ankles, hips and down towards the floor. Hold here. Take a few breaths into the chest. If you want to challenge for your balance, a little deeper stretch for the hips, try lifting up to the tips of the toes. Maybe one at a time. Play around a little bit if you feel compelled to do so. On the next inhale, everyone rise to standing, turn the toes forward. Hinge forward at the hips, bring your fingertips down to the floor. Right foot turns forward as we walk the hands into lunge. And step back to plank. Drop the knees to tabletop. I say we skip chaturanga again, lower down to our bellies. Deep breath in, lifting the chest. And exhale, child's pose, hips to heels, taking a rest here. Bringing focus back to the breath. Slowly meet me in a seated position, facing the front of your mat, with legs extended forward. Hips are grounded in the center of your mat. Feet are flexed. Gentle bend in the knees if legs feel tight. Core is engaged by length out through the crown of your head. Place your hands on either sides of your hips to help lengthen the spine a bit more. Hold for a few breaths here. Then on your next exhale, release into a more neutral, comfortable spine. Lift both arms overhead, drop your chin to your chest, then around the spine into a rounded back stretch, lowering hands to the knees, pointing elbows out to either side of the mat. Melting shoulders away from the ears. And allowing our breath to relieve any lasting tension in the spine and the neck. Down to the tailbone. Slowly start to lengthen the spine upright, returning to staff pose by planting hands on either sides of the hips, finding that length through the spine before relaxing neutral. Bend both knees, planting your feet on the mat. Place hands on the back side of your thighs and ease your way down until you're flat on your back. Placing your arms wide at your sides, palms face up, letting the knees fall in towards one another. Taking a few moments of stillness on our back. Start to slow down the practice, entering our cool down. Sort of prepping the body for our bit of stillness at the end. Separate the knees so that they're lined up over the heels. Heels are in line with the hips. Arms are along the sides of the body. Bend the elbows, fingertips face up towards the sky. Press into the upper arms and the feet to lift the hips off the mat, lifting chin from chest into bridge pose, holding here, strengthening thighs, glutes, core, opening front side of body. And slowly lowering hips down to the mat and drawing both knees in towards the chest, holding below the knees or on the back of the thighs. Maybe finding a gentle rock side to side, helping to massage the muscles in the back of the body. Slow down, find some stillness. Place hands on the back side of your thighs if they're not there already. Extend the legs up to the ceiling into our inversion. Heels line up about over the hips. Hands stay on the back of the thighs for support. Gently tuck your chin in towards your chest. We'll hold for about 45 seconds here. The purpose is to help induce relaxation, getting some fresh oxygenated blood towards our heads. It's normal for you to feel a little tingliness in the toes, but if the legs start to get tired, you can find some ease by gently bending the knees, drawing the thighs close to the body, still keeping heels elevated. Try to relax the muscles in the face. Relax the jaw. Slowly draw the knees in towards the body, lower heels down to the body as well. Place the arms back along the floor at shoulder height, palms face up to the sky. Let the knees fall to the right into reclined spinal twist as head turns to the left. Starting to relax the muscles around the brow. And perhaps closing the eyes as we find ourselves in our last pose before final resting pose. Slowly draw the knees back to the center of the chest before letting them fall over to the left and turning head to the right. Slowly draw the knees back to the center of your chest. Hold on below the knees, drawing thighs close to the body once again, feet side by side. Slowly lift your head to meet your knees. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold the breath at the top. Squeeze the body nice and tight, like you're squeezing yourself into a tiny little ball. Then as you exhale out through the mouth, let go of the body so you can lay flat on the mat into final resting pose. Spread the arms nice and wide. Take up as much space as you can. Let the toes fall away from one another. Let the eyes be gently closed and palms turn up towards the sky. Take a deep breath in through your nose, and as you exhale out through the mouth, melt onto the mat. Let everything go. And focus comes back to the breath. Following the little movements the body makes as you draw breath in, as you press breath out. Allow the repetitiveness of the breath to ease you deeper into a relaxed state. focus has wandered, bring the attention back to the inhale. Follow the exhale. Start to deepen your breath. Start to wiggle your fingers, begin to wiggle your toes. Welcome movement back to your body. Slowly roll over to the right side of your body, taking a moment of stillness on your side, using your arm to support your head. Keeping your eyes closed or your gaze lowered to the floor, slowly press yourself up into any comfortable seated position. As always, to finish class, we'll take 3 cleansing breaths together as one. That's breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth. Today we're adding movement to our breath. As we exhale, we'll round the spine, drop chin to chest. On the inhale, we'll lift and arch the spine, tilting head up to ceiling. So that we're all together, let's start on an exhale with the spine rounded, chin dropped to the chest. Breathing into the nose for 1 as we lift and arch, breathing in. Exhaling out through mouth, rounding spine, chin to chest. Breathing in for 2, lifting, arching, breathing in. Exhaling, spine rounds, spine rounds, spine rounds. Breath in for 3, last breath, nice and deep. Fill the body up with breath. Exhale, pressing breath out, rounding spine, chin to chest. Find a neutral seated position and quickly give yourself thanks for making time for this practice. There is a light that exists within me that honors and respects the light that exists within each and every one of you. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's class. If you did, there is a version of this class that is aired every Thursday. If you're looking for something a little more challenging, I teach a core yoga class and that is aired every Sunday. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and I hope to see you next week. Thanks again.